Hello everybody, I'm Tony Craig. This is F1 Grandstand and this is your F1 news. And you love a daily dose of F1 news, even on a Sunday. Yeah, I know you're excited. So what we're going to get into tonight, we've got a little bit obviously about Flavio Briatore, some of the comments he's made, shedding some light on the Christian Horner situation over at Alpine. We've got Fred under pressure, actually. There has been, we know Fred was given a number of races ready to prove himself this season, but there is a target that he has agreed with John Elkin, which we're going to be talking about. Will he be able to hit that? We've got also a little bit of an article about Hamilton and Leclerc, how they've been heavily involved in that 26 car, which is good news, really, because, you know, the 25 car wasn't cutting it. Listen to the drivers. Full circle moment there, I think. And also F1 needs to go on a diet. So, yes, this is more of, you know, a relaxed Sunday evening where we could all get together and discuss some stories. I've got a white tea. I've been told white tea, it's loads good for detoxing, apparently. I'm going to say in the chat, Gemma, Drop Tune, Reevesy, Semmer, yeah, all in there. Love it. Yeah, so obviously Sunday's not a night I normally do, but I thought we'd try it. I thought we'd see what it's like on a, you know, for a Sunday night live to see whether, you know, people are sat chilling and they're interested in a little bit of F1 Grandstand. Obviously Monday to Friday as always. But yeah, thought we'd introduce a Sunday night. See how that goes. So yeah, first things first. Oh, so if you are an if you are an F1 fan, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash a like on the video if you do enjoy it. And behind that subscribe button, make sure the bell all icon is ticked. That way you can keep up to date with all of our content. That's the housekeeping done. So let me just remind you, I did a video earlier today actually, just to do an update on the Alpine situation, the Horner situation. I know you can't really keep the guy out of the news, but there was a few things that I thought were interesting. One, it's the first time that in any official capacity, somebody from Team Alpine has actually confirmed Christian Horner is in the process of trying to buy the 24% stake in the team from Otro Capital. No one's confirmed it before, okay? It's been speculation, best guess. We've been told by some very reliable sources all the way through since July, actually. But now, finally, at the Alpine launch event, finally, we've had an actual official confirmation, and that confirmation came from Flavio Briatore, who we know is big mates with Horner. So what are those comments from Flavio? These are the comments. So this is Flavio Briatore asked by a journalist at that launch event for the livery, for the Alpine livery. He said Otro wants to sell their participation in Alpine. The moment somebody buys 24% of Otro, off Otro, that should say, we still have the rest and we discuss it, but for the moment this is the situation. He obviously confirmed his friendship with Horner. I've known Christian for many years. I talk with Christian anyway, but this decision, this has nothing to do with me, Governor. First you need to buy the shareholding from Otro. After that, Renault needs to accept the buyer, and after that we see what will happen. But there's no link with me because he's negotiating with Otro. He's not negotiating with us. So we've got absolute confirmation that Christian Horner is negotiating with Otro. I must point out as well that Flavio Briatore did say his phone rings on the daily, people asking him about the purchase of Otro Capital. But at the end of the day, he's not responsible directly for that, is it? Those shares are owned by, well, I'll show you who it's owned by. Those shares are owned by Otro Capital, Redbird and Maximum Effort. Those are the companies, if you like, that hold those shares. Otro Capital have just been charged as the managing agent, if you like, to sell. They do own some of those shares as well, but they're managing the sale of the full 24% available shares. So Renault own the rest. But here's the thing, okay? What Flavio said, which I think is a little bit misleading. You got Flavio saying he's not involved. I just don't buy that part, because you've got to remember that nobody is going to come in and pay 600 million or even do all the work to get an agreement with Otro to say, hey, here's your around 600 million for your 24% stake in Alpine, if they haven't already had conversations with Renault about being an acceptable buyer for those shares. So I think that's not true, Flavio. I think the bottom line is this. I think you and Horner are still in cahoots. I think you've already said to Horner, I've got the Renault board under control. They're not going to, if you get the money to buy those shares, and of course, we want you involved. Otherwise, why would they get to the point where they're even at a purchase agreement? The amount of money, time, effort to actually do the deal, to then get Renault to go, oh, you're buying those shares, are you? After all that work, and go, nah, sorry, mate, we're not dealing with you. We don't want you as a partner. That doesn't seem likely. So even though there are probably multiple parties interested in those 24% shares, what do they bring to the table? What added value do they bring? Now, you could argue that Renault just don't care, because as Renault still owns 76% of the team, whoever buys that 24%, if they don't want any input into the team, they just want to hold the shares purely as an investment. They think, hey, F1's a great business to be in. Share value is going to go up. We'll be able to resell this stock in another couple of years' time for a profit. Then we have no involvement in the racing. We just hold that stock as an investment. Would that suit Alpine? Would that suit Renault? Well, they don't get much value out of that. It's no different to what they've got now. But then they've got somebody like Horner saying, I'm not only bringing the money to buy those shares, I'm bringing me to influence the team as a team principal. Plus, I've got more money behind me to invest in the infrastructure and into the team. So I think what's really happened is, right from day one, Flavio, who's big friends with Horner, they're in cahoots, I'm sure. But Flavio can't say this publicly, but I'm pretty sure that it's all nailed on with regards to a situation with Renault. You know, will Renault allow it? I think it has to be yes, unless they're doing some sort of cruel trick where they make him go through all the process and he's about to sign on the dotted line with Otro, and then they kibosh it just to mess with him. But that would be a whole different level of fuckery, wouldn't it? So I don't think that's what's going on. So yeah, that's what I think it is, and that's your update. So the main takeaway is this. Flavio's confirmed it. Horner's dealing with Otro. He has been for a while. If you've not seen our playlist, our Christian Horner playlist, you can see the entire chronological events of what's gone on since July to now. All the rumours, follow the whole story, and you can watch that playlist. But that's me catching you up. And I know a lot of you aren't really that bothered about Horner, but that does catch you up. I'm going to say hello to the chat. Reeves is in there. He loves a Sunday night F1 grandstand. Good. It might become a permanent feature, Reevesy. Just Dave's in there. Great. Nice to have you in, Just Dave. Good evening to you, sir. And if you are brand new and you're watching for the first time, get in the chat and say hello, because honestly, really friendly bunch. Old guy chat. So Tony is Top Cat. That's funny. But he's missing the straw boater. I still love his energy. TC or Flav. Old guy chat, TC. It's true. Top Cat is a common nickname for me. Close friends get to call him TC. Yeah, you can go with TC. Top Cat. It's nothing I haven't heard before. I'm sure there's been many more worse names for me in my lifetime. Jaman says Horner may end up backing out of this deal unless he gets 51% control. I don't think he'll accept less. Well, that's the interesting thing, because that's the other part that I think I've taken away from Flavio's comments. Flavio said he's negotiating with Otro for 24%. We still own the rest. I got the impression that Renault have got zero interest in giving up any of their shares. So does that mean Horner's happy with 24%? I think it is. If he gets, to control the team in the way he wants to and run the team, then I think he would be happy. Because his biggest sort of nemesis, Toto Wolff, he owns 33% of Mercedes, doesn't he? Mercedes Racing. Not Mercedes, but Mercedes Racing. So, you know, and I think Horner would probably settle for 24%. And maybe there's a ratchet deal to be had in the future, because who knows? The way Renault, the company Renault, are going, who knows what position they're going to be in a year or two. They are going, that, you know, their share price is going down. They're selling less and less cars. So unless they manage to rebuild not an electric Renault 5, but an old Renault, you know, like we had the Renault 5 GT Turbo in the late 80s and 90s. If Renault come out with a brand new, naturally, no, you can have it, it could be obviously not turbocharged, you know, Renault 5 GT Turbo that's affordable, I think that could save the company. I think that's how you save Renault, and then that saves their racing team, and that way they don't have to sell any of their shares. But we loved Renault 5 GT Turbos when I was a kid. Renault 5 GT Turbos were the thing, and the Renault 5 GT Turbo 2 was something else. But yeah, Renault do. So there's a situation in the future that if Horner gets 24% now, who knows? They could ratchet up over the next couple of years. Renault getting more and more trouble, then they sell. They sell. Old guy chat. Flav needs to punt a few gondolas first. Do you know what? When I used to watch Formula One, I was talking to my friend about this. When I used to watch Formula One in the 90s as a young boy, I was like, you'd always see Flavio Briatore on his boat, and it'd be full of movie stars and supermodels, and it looked like the place to be. Like Flavio's boat was where everyone wanted to hang out. Yeah, so I don't know. Crack guy, been a few rumours floating around today regarding Aston Martin and their crash test fails, and Hamilton's race engineer from McLaren. Yeah, I've got that story tonight as well. I never mentioned it. We're going to be talking about the new name that's floating around as the new candidate for Lewis Hamilton's race engineer. That is in the show. We've got that in there as well tonight. And it's an interesting one. We'll talk about it. You mentioned his name there, but we'll talk about it. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about this name. It might be, I don't know. We'll talk about it when we come up to it. Yeah, Gemma says Renault are cash poor. Old guy chat, Renault is flawed in road cars, but of course they're going down the dark road of electric cars. I know. Stop doing that. Like, just do a major U-turn and you might be able to save your company. So yeah, that's literally the Horner update from today. Pretty telling. Flavio, I don't know what Horner thinks of Flavio telling those stories though. Flavio, because you got to remember, Horner hasn't even confirmed publicly that he's going after the Otro Capital shares. Otro Capital haven't confirmed publicly that they're negotiating, because why would you? You never want to confirm, you don't want it out in the press while you're trying to do a negotiation. The less sort of eyeballs on what you're doing, the better. And then Flavio comes out and goes, yeah, Horner's trying to buy those shares. I mean, Horner's probably on the phone going, Flav, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Because now, you know, maybe the other parties that are interested in buying those shares go, oh, we're losing these shares to Horner. Let's put in a massive deal and the price gets bumped up. So maybe Horner's a bit pissed off with Flavio today. He could be, that Flavio's been talking about him. Anyway, that's your Horner update. Next up, I'm going to talk about a little bit about Fred Vasseur. How many F's? Fred Vasseur's Ferrari future now depends on achieving one target in 2026. Now, you might have seen one of our earlier videos which said Ferrari give Fred 5 races, or Fred's 5 races, something like that. Basically, just to catch you up on that, because of the terrible season they had in 25, Elkin was obviously furious. No, he wasn't just furious with the drivers, he was furious with Fred. But Fred's been leading the development of the 26 car. And it would have been probably too much of a risk to get rid of Fred in 25. So they sort of said, right, Fred, said Fred. They said, look, you've got 5 races in 26. This is your car. You've led the design. And if it's awful, you know, your head's going to roll. But the early signs of that car, I've got to say, it sounds good. I thought it sounded good. Like, you know me, I like my Ferraris red. I'm not saying it's a bad livery. I just like my Ferraris red. And it looks still quite a nice livery. I just feel there's too much white on it for me. That's just my opinion. I know a few people have tried to shoot me down, but that's just my opinion. Just a bit too much white on the livery. But it's not a horrible looking car. Anyway, it's actually not a badly performed car, not a badly performing car either. They didn't have any major problems in the shakedown. Fred said he felt the car could have done 200 kilometers. So, you know, this is good news. Sounded great. Hamilton's had a big smile on his face. He seemed really happy. And actually, is Hamilton getting younger, by the way? Did you see him in his interview after the shakedown? I was like, Hamilton's 41. He looked 31. Anyway, he looked in good shape, well rested, ready to go. Loads of positive comments. Him and Leclerc, super positive. So I was really pleased to see that after the Ferrari shakedown. But anyway, going back to Fred, it looks like he's kind of led... So far, they've made some interesting engineering choices. And just from this early observation, honestly, considering I've been bashing Ferrari, saying I think they're going to be a bag of spanners, I'm not sure now. I think the Ferrari's better than I've been leading people to believe. Now I've seen it on track, now I've heard it, and now I've seen the general reaction. I actually believe the Ferrari is getting better. And you've got to remember as well, it's the return of the rake. Return of the rake. Now, obviously what the rake means is the front end's going to be lower than the rear end for most cars, right? Because the cars are all going to going to run at a higher ride height. And in order to get, we're going back to that high rake, the higher rear to the lower front, which means Ferrari are never going to have to worry with the illegal plank wear in this situation, which is good news for Ferrari. They've gone to a push rod suspension, which is good news for Ferrari because that'll give them the balance through the corners that they didn't have before. If they've cracked their engine, like made it, you know, and they've gone there, that steel cylinder head seems to be a genius move because there are benefits of a steel cylinder head. I've been doing my homework. The steel cylinder head means that they can have it's a combustion. The combustion rate can be higher. Not the compression ratio, but the actual boom in the box. It can take more boom in the box. I'm coining that phrase, boom in the box. But yeah, maybe, look, maybe Ferrari, I know, might not be as bad as I've been making out in the off season. Anyway, but it comes back to the same point. Elkin wanted to get rid of Fred. He couldn't. So he's given him 5 or 6 races, which weirdly would have coincided perfectly with Christian Horner's end of his sort of garden leave, where he'd be available, right? Where he'd be available for a team principal role, but that's not going to happen. Just put it out there, Horner's not going to Ferrari. But yeah, that's interesting. But this is what's come out. Let me actually get to the point of what they're saying now. So what they basically said is it comes back to an agreement. It says that it's like on a staged performance review. Now it's said that Vasseur has until the summer to convince the Ferrari hierarchy that he should remain in his post. The reality is he doesn't have long. No shit, Sherlock. And basically Maranello are ramping up the pressure. And this is what they've now saying to him. Fred Vasseur's future depends on winning the 26th title with Ferrari. I mean, obviously Vasseur's saying, I might need more time to do that, to deliver those results, but he's now entering his 4th season and he's only overseen 6 wins in all that time. So this is what John Elkins basically said to him. As per the report from La Gazzetta dello Sport, Elkin gave Vasseur the mission of winning the championship after bringing in him from Sauber in 2023. Now his future after 3 seasons with Ferrari depends on him delivering on that expectation that Elkin has. Vasseur has to win the title with Leclerc and Hamilton in 26. If he gets to the end of the season. I mean, what do you think about that? So I'm going to get the chat. Drop Tune says, I think the writing's on the wall for Fred. Just Dave says, I wanted Horner at Ferrari as well. I think Elkin would take Horner at Ferrari for sure. Reeves said Leclerc and Hamilton seem impressed with their cars on test track. Yes, they do. I thought that as well. I actually felt the same way. They didn't come off going, oh, you could see it. If it was awful, you'd see it in their faces. Like, they can't hide it. They'd be like, oh my God, we've got another bag of spanners. But I didn't get that from them. Old guy chat says, yeah, bag of spanners. Just listen to the Haas as well, TC. But Fred going out, then Lewis may go. Yeah, well, exactly. I think it's just like, so what I think it is. So Fred's obviously said to Elkin when he got the job, I'll win you that championship, Elkin. John, I will get it for you. 3 seasons. This is his 4th season. But it's his first car, really. Right? Major regulation change. Fred is an engineer, don't forget. He's got an aeronautical engineer. He's an engineering degree. So Fred is no stranger, you know, to a spanner, right? He is an engineer. And this is the chance now. Do we get max value from Fred as a team principal? Because this is actually his car. Where everyone said the SF25 was Cardeal's car, not his car. So I think this is interesting. This really is the acid test for Fred. So he's delivering this car for 26. And if it's good, all is forgiven, baby, right? That's the truth. So Fred if he gets past the first 6 races and they're in the mix, then he's got to win the championship. If he doesn't win by the end of the year, even if he has an okay season, finishes second, I think he's gone. Maybe. I mean, I say that. It depends. I mean, second, is it a close second? If it's a close fought title, I just don't think they can be miles behind somebody. You know, you can't have what we've seen at McLaren last year. You know, we just can't see, or any of the last few years really, where somebody is so far behind. But that's what I think. So this has come back out to light. That goal is set. Can he do it? Is my question. Here's my question to you, chat. I'm going to do a poll, actually. This is tonight's poll. I've just thought of it. After what we've seen pre-season, can Fred win the Constructors? This is a great poll. Well, I want to see where you're at, because we're allowed to have our opinions changed. Fred win the Constructors with Ferrari in 2026. Can Fred win the Constructors? I'm having a brain freeze. Why is that not working? Can't win. There we go. Why do I type so slowly? Okay, there we go. It's a yes or no, guys. And I want you to take into account of what the early noises we've seen from the drivers, the early noises we've heard from the car, what we've seen from the look of the car, the engineering changes they've made. Do we still believe in that Ferrari engine? And that is the poll tonight. Because, old guy chat says Piero is an engineer with his own business, remember? So Piero, are we talking about Piero Ferrari? The illegitimate son of Enzo has got his own engineering company. Because he still owns 10% of the Ferrari race team, you know. That's what he inherited off his dad, off Enzo. You don't see him around much though, do you? What's crap? What are we laughing at? What have I missed? Chef, happy Sunday, buddy. Good to have you in there. Sudrish is in there as well. Yeah, Sudrish. Hamilton was screaming. But oh yeah, from the top of the building. I hope the car's good. Yeah, Hamilton seemed happy, didn't he? Crackeye says, of course he can. The real question is, will he? I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I was really, you know what I've been saying about Ferrari. I've been predicting Ferrari are going to be a bag of spanners in 26. I was predicting the engine, the people like Zimmerman, the way he was talking about the engine a few months ago when he left to go to Audi, and he was saying it's not even been on the bench. We've not even had it on a dyno. And it just made me think, oh God, they're so far behind. And then the switch from an aluminium head to a steel head, I'm like, that's wild. No one else is doing that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So it's a good poll, that one. Can Fred do it? Because if I'd have put this poll up I reckon at the end of 25, before we'd even seen the car, the 26 car, I reckon 100% of you said, no freaking way. No way. But this is interesting. It's an interesting poll. So we're at 36-64. Keep the votes coming in. And if you're watching on for the first time, get in the chat, say hello, let me know where you're watching from. So we'll leave that one running. I want to get into what a couple of you have already brought up, and it's whilst we're talking Ferrari, we've got quite a bit of Ferrari tonight, to be fair. While we're talking Ferrari, I want to talk a little bit about Ferrari now see former Oscar Piastri's engineer as most credible candidate for Lewis Hamilton's race engineer role. So who are they talking about? I know I've seen a few of you mention it in the chat. So obviously they're talking about Cedric Michel Grosjean to replace Riccardo Adami, Riccardo Adami's gone just to take the role. I don't know where this is coming from, because I posted, it was FIA Girly who broke on her Twitter that the first time I saw it, so credit to her, it said that Ferrari are now looking at a McLaren engineer to become Lewis Hamilton's race engineer. And this is the name that came out today. The interesting thing is, Cedric Grosjean at McLaren was not a race engineer. He was a performance engineer, just like Luca Della. They sit just below the race engineer. Now, here's what we know. So Cedric Michel Grosjean, he left McLaren in December after 8 years working with McLaren, and Michel Grosjean has emerged as one of the most credible options to be Hamilton's new race engineer. He worked closely with Oscar Piastri before he quit his role as McLaren's lead trackside performance engineer. Michel Grosjean is currently serving his period of gardening leave, and after leaving McLaren, which would delay any move to Ferrari for 3 to 6 months. So in the interim, Ferrari will rely on Luca Della to be a liaison to Hamilton until Adami's replacement arrives. That doesn't... I don't think that's right. So, look, this story gets broke, right? They're looking at a McLaren personnel to come over as Lewis's race engineer. But you can't choose someone who's got 3 to 6 months of garden leave. That would take us up to halfway through the season. And who do they say will be doing the role in the interim? Well, okay, we've got apparently... Oh, what's going on here? Apparently Carla Santa... Can you hear that music? Hang on. Hang on, can you hear that music? I'm going to get done for that. My iTunes started playing a song. Sorry about that. iTunes on my computer started playing a song. I'm going to get cancelled for that. Yeah, pure accident if you're listening to Spotify. Anyway, basically, the person that would be the interim whilst waiting for Michel Grosjean would be Luca Della for 6 months. Don't you think at that point that Hamilton and Luca Della might have a thing going on? So how do you offer a guy a job and go, you can come and have that job in 6 months? And in that time, Luca Della, who was also touted as one of the key candidates for Lewis Hamilton to become Lewis Hamilton's race engineer, it doesn't sound right to me, because he's not available. And you can't have Lewis Hamilton without a race engineer having I don't know. And let's say he starts doing well with Luca Della, and you've given this guy a job. You've signed up Michel Grosjean for 6 months down the line. Hamilton's all of a sudden more than happy. Well, what happens then? What does he come? I suppose he comes in as a trackside performance engineer instead, and he's not a race engineer. Maybe he's a good person to have on the team anyway. Maybe that's really what they're talking about. Maybe Ferrari want this guy on the team, trackside, regardless, as a trackside performance engineer, and maybe they're just considering him. as a possibility. But I can't see it's a real possibility if you've got to wait 3 to 6 months to actually have him there. So, and then I don't. Hey, Reese Cup's in there. Welcome to the show. Hello from Las Vegas, one of my favourite places in the world. That's the Grand Prix I want to go to. That's where I want to be, Reese Cup. Las Vegas. Best Grand Prix of the season for me, that was. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense that these journalists are reporting this. I don't know whether they're doing it for clicks. I don't know whether it's a real rumour. I still believe, if you looked at our earlier show, where all of my research and all the conversations I've been having, it still points to Luca Della. And especially when they say, you know, he would be the interim anyway. He'll be doing the job anyway. So, and there's also the Carly Santi situation where apparently he will be operating as Lewis's race engineer in the interim. So now we've got 3 interims. We had Boz, who's Charles Leclerc's race engineer, who was going to be Hamilton's interim at Barcelona, because you can only take... This is the other thing that I might not have made clear, because I wasn't clear on it either. In Barcelona testing, you're only allowed to run one car. You can't run both of your cars. One car only. So it means one driver's out on track at any one time. So Boz could quite easily just be the race engineer, right, for the car, while Leclerc and Hamilton's in there. Then they said, coming out in the press, that no, Carly Santi, who used to be Kimi Raikkonen's race engineer, is going to step in and be Lewis's interim. Okay, well, that's his first interim was Boz. Now we've gone to Santi, and now we've got another report saying no. Now we're going to have a third interim, which is Luca Della, who actually is in line for getting the job anyway. None of it. It's all very convoluted. So I think if I had to point to what really is happening, is that they're going to test out Luca Della. You know, Santi might get a go in the meantime. And I think when we're going into... I think by the end of Bahrain testing, no matter what, Hamilton's race engineer has to be decided. Has to be decided. They need to get some water under the bridge. They need to get that vocabulary going. Yeah, it's going to be... Look, it is going to be detrimental for Lewis if he doesn't have that relationship. Drop Tune says they'll need an extra technical truck for all Lewis's race engineers. I know he's got that many he's got that many performance engineers, and he hasn't got a race engineer. They're all there. Well, I don't know. I wonder. I'd like to hear Luca Della tell us what he wants. Well, I'd like to know if he's going to get it. But yeah, it's too many performance engineers, no race engineer. It's not right. But that's the story coming out. So yeah, it's Michel Grosjean. And you also think it's a bit interesting about that is if you're going out to another team to get what I would say is best in class, well, is that best in class where you've got a trackside performance engineer who's walked, he's left McLaren for whatever reason. Why did he leave McLaren? Why do you leave a championship winning team? Right? He walked out in December, you know, which was the end of the season. Was it December 24? Or no, it was 25, wasn't it? Yeah. So he's literally just left. Now, is that because he was always going to take another job? Yes, we left in December. So he did 8 years at McLaren. He left in December. Do you think if you're going to leave your team, you've got probably your next move lined up? Do you think before... So hear me out. So if it's Michel Grosjean is coming over to Ferrari anyway, right? They've already had that discussion. He's leaving McLaren because don't forget, Adami's only just left as Lewis's race engineer. You know, there was conversations where I think Ferrari wanted to keep Adami, weirdly, crazy. They were fighting for Adami to stay in that position. Eventually, Lewis has obviously got his way. So I would just think if I'm Michel Grosjean, I've already got my next move planned for 26. So I think there could be a situation where Ferrari were going to go for him anyway, not necessarily as Lewis's race engineer. He was already going to come into the team as a performance engineer, maybe trackside performance engineer of some description. So yeah, but now it's an afterthought, possibly. Oh, so Drop Tune says, precisely, it's a huge gamble, especially for a 7-time world champ, unless Lewis Hamilton has requested this guy. See, that's the other thing. I don't know. Maybe they've got some connection. Oh, Cyber Red, welcome to the chat, my friend. I'm a big fan of yours. This is kind of off topic, but I love the Ferrari livery because it reminds me of the Ferrari 312T, the car Niki Lauda drove. Yes, it does. Yeah, you're right. The 312T with the like a hammerhead shark at the front, sort of bull nose, like, yeah. I'm very white at the top. I'd agree. Look, Cyber Red, I'd agree. There's the throwbacks to it, and I actually, like I said, I don't dislike the livery. It's not like I look at it and go, oh god, what's that? Like, I actually like it, and the carbon fiber wings and the black and red, it's kind of like, I do think it's kind of cool, but it's just, I wanted more red. Do you know what though? I say this now, it's one of those liveries, like every time I've looked at it, if I'm honest, and when I saw the footage of it going round Fiorello, I liked it more on track. Does that make sense? I liked it more on track. Yeah, do you know what I mean? It might grow on me. There's a few liveries that might grow on me. And some that I might just get turned off by the end of the, halfway through the season. But the Ferrari one might just grow on me. It might just grow on me. But yeah, well, thank you for the compliment. I'm so glad you're part of our community, Cyberhead. You're very, very welcome. Anytime. We've got a great community. Make sure you get involved in the chat as well. We love that. So yeah, that's my thought on it. Because a few people called me today about it, and I think that's what it is. I think Ferrari may have been going for him anyway, and now there's a race engineer spot. Now he's getting mentioned. My bet is still Luca Della. I think he's still the best money at the moment. That's what I think. But let's see. Let me know what you think in the chat. And if you're watching on replay, make sure you can always comment on the videos in the replay as well, because I will get back to you. Jaman says, yes, correct, Tony. Almost all these moves are decided well in advance of when we hear about them. That's the way it works. So yeah, I think that's it. It's the HP that's out of place. Not as bad as last year. The HP is not as bad as last year. I don't think, as in, because they've gone with the round logo instead of the square one, haven't they? Yeah, the Haas looked good on track. Sounded good as well, didn't it? The Haas sounded good on track as well, didn't it? That Ferrari engine. I'm gonna get clipped up at some point, because I did a lot of Ferrari engine bashing in my videos going into the 26th season. I have done a lot of Ferrari engine bashing, and I could be wrong. It sounded great. But I know I saw a comment earlier, I can't remember who it was now, about George Russell and Mercedes. And somebody said he had a big... Oh, it was Sudrish. Yeah, and Sudrish said about George Russell having a big smile on his face. I'm sure he did. Mercedes, the first team to complete a 200-kilometre test. And it didn't miss a beat. The Mercedes didn't miss a beat. It looks really strong. Really strong. And I think I'm trying to keep up with. There's a lot of chat tonight. Chef says the way things are unfolding at the moment, I hate to say it, I think Mercedes might do it. Yeah, Merc looking good. It's a hard one to say. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's hard. I think the Merc's looking good as well. It's Droptune said, hey, it could be worse. They might have HB Sauce sponsorship and have a brown logo. Do you remember the mellow yellow car in Days of Thunder? It was quick though, wasn't it? It was quick. Terrible livery. It was quick. But yeah, I'm excited to see. But I do think the Lewis Hamilton stories are going to go on for a while. And speaking of Lewis Hamilton, actually, I do need to talk a little bit. It's been a very Ferrari show tonight. But this I thought was pretty impressive. Well, not impressive. I was pleased to read this over on Racing 365. Hamilton heavily involved in Ferrari 2026 F1 car development. So this is actually quite good news, because a season where I think the drivers were saying the engineers aren't listening to us. We're asking for aero. They're giving us suspension. But Fred Vasseur has taken a lot of the blame for that. He said we'd already diverted all of our attention to the 26 car with regards to upgrading the 25 car. So, that was kind of his call, really. But anyway, But this what I thought was good. Charles Leclerc has confirmed that he and Lewis Hamilton have both been heavily, and this is quote for quote, heavily involved in the development of the Ferrari SF26 from the early stages. We know Hamilton's had a very big influence on the steering wheel and functions, but the car, they have been heavily involved. So those trips to Maranello through 25, working in the sim, even Hamilton, who doesn't like the simulators, apparently has been putting the time in and really having an impact on the development of that car. Maybe that's why the car sounded so good, looked so good, you know, on the testing this week. But this is the interesting thing. Given the scale and importance of the changes, Leclerc and Hamilton have both been key players in shaping the direction the Maranello-based outfit has taken with its new car. They go on to say the 2026 regulations demand an even higher level of preparation, particularly for us drivers. There are many new systems to understand and optimize, which is why we have been heavily involved from the early stages of the project's development. Good comments. During my time with, this is Leclerc, by the way. During my time with Scuderia Ferrari, we have already experienced major regulatory changes together, so we know how complex this challenge can be, but we are working with a lot of motivation to arrive on track as well prepared as possible. Energy management and the power unit will be among the most significant aspects. A fascinating challenge which will require us drivers to adapt quickly, relying more on instinct to begin with and then increasingly on precise data. And then he goes on to say the sport of the fans will be especially important this season. It is what makes Ferrari so unique and pushes us to give our very best. Well, I'm sure the 70 million a year should also help you push to give your very best. But yes, of course, the Tifosi, the fans around the world should be a big motivator for the drivers. But the takeaway from that is I like the fact that the drivers are saying, after what happened last season, Elkin saying, drivers, stop talking, shut up and drive. Almost saying, we don't need to listen to you. We know what we're doing. Engineers have got it right. You're not doing well enough. And I think this, okay, I'm going to give Vasseur some credit here. I think because Fred's been leading the development of the 26 car, and it's really got his fingerprints all over it. I know there's Sarah, who's obviously been instrumental in this new car as well. But look, I think because Fred is maybe backing his drivers a little bit more, putting his confidence in his drivers, that I think that he's maybe created a better feedback loop from the drivers to the engineers after what was pretty horrible last year. And I think if that's worked, we'll see it on track in Bahrain. We'll see it on track in Australia. And it'll be a big step forward. And it will actually finally show maybe a shift in philosophy, a shift in trajectory for the whole Ferrari team. However, it all comes down to the car performance. If the car's no good, and Fred's got it wrong with the engineering, and Sarah's got it wrong with the engineering, and the drivers can't get it together with the new battery management and everything else, then yeah, it's not gonna. We're not gonna see much improvement, are we? And it's all gonna still be the same mess. But as it looks so far, maybe that's Fred's influence. Maybe that's good news. Listening to the drivers. We're still talking about liveries. Gemma says the 24 car was my favourite. I like the 24 car. Very red. Very Ferrari. Yeah, I like the 24 car. Chef says, I like the Ferrari livery. Ferrari have the best livery strategy. They're the best at changing while keeping it the same. It's true. Listen, I'll give you that. They still stay within the realms of Ferrari. Yeah. Jaman says it's all about which company's fuel has the highest density now. All these cars are still running last year's fuel. The fuel debate. I was listening to someone talk about this, and you're right. So what they want is lower volume of fuel, higher density, because that means you get more power from less fuel, right? So it's the density of the molecules, which is where synthetic fuel is, where the synthetic fuel of Aramco versus the biofuel from Shell is going to be interesting. because surely, even though the synthetic fuel is astronomically expensive, what is it? Something like 15,000 a tank, I think it is for synthetic fuel. I'm pretty sure biofuel's cheaper than that. But the fuel wars are on, aren't they? Aramco did well in F2 and F3, I think. So I think they're a bit ahead of the game. But it will be interesting to see who brings the best fuel and how long it'll be before the FIA sort of standardize a fuel. I think that's the risk to all this fuel. I'm all here for fuel development. I think synthetic fuels and biofuels are the future, right? Sustainable fuels are the future, and bringing those costs down into everyday living, which means that maybe they'll stop pushing electric cars on us, right? Imagine if they can just get, fully synthetic fuels and then we can still have our V10s, right, and V8s on the road without any problem. Have sustainable fuels. That would be brilliant. That's my optimum. Give me the big engines and give me a fully sustainable fuel. Brilliant. So I want them to keep developing these fuels because I'm not fully behind electrification of cars, right? But yeah, I don't know, because the FIA maybe at some point will standardize the fuel, because it'll come down to this, won't it? If there is a massive difference between the best fuel provider and the worst fuel provider, that's when the FIA starts stepping in and go, right, it's all got to be synthetic, not bio. They'll start regulating the fuel in a way that will just standardize it. Maybe there'll be different manufacturers, but it'll become more standardized maybe. But yeah, I wish instead of going down the electrification route with cars, they went down, it could have been a fuel solution. You can still have your V8s, you can still have your V10s and your V12s, and we've just managed to build this amazingly cheap, sustainable fuel, right? That doesn't cost $12,000 or $15,000 a tank, right? That would be great, because that's my personal preference. But yeah, good news that Ferrari are listening to the drivers. It'll show on track and it'll show in Bahrain. And the final story for this, I love our Sunday. By the way, I like Sunday night. It's a bit more of a relaxed vibe. It's like we can chat more. I like it. Oh, don't forget the poll that's running. Wow, I'll give you a quick update because you've only got a few minutes left to vote. So the poll tonight is, can Fred win the championship with Ferrari in 2026? And it's far closer than it would have been at the end of 25 if I asked that question, since you've seen the cars and you've seen the driver's reaction to it. Yes, 43%. No, 57%. It's fluctuating. Ooh, it's pretty close, that. It's pretty close. Yeah, that's pretty close. Right, but the final story is about... They're moaning about the fat cars. F1 cars need a diet. Why the FIA will resist team demands on minimum weights. So the discussion's still going on about trying to get these thick cars to a little bit thinner. They've reduced the minimum weight by 32 kilograms, from 800 kilograms to 768 kilograms. And the problem is, I think it's only Audi who's managing to get down to the minimum weight. And what the FIA, what Nicholas Tombazzi said, we would like to put Formula One on a diet. Get them down to Weight Watchers, baby. It's going from obese to overweight, and we need to push it a bit more in the future. We were quite adamant that we're not going to be tweaking the weight on team demand. We feel there's a bit of, like a diet, it needs a bit of discipline and a bit of pressure to achieve. So Tom Basie is basically saying, lose weight, fatties. we've got to bring them down. Teams need to be careful when they design a system, and this is what Tom Bazzi is saying. When the teams now are designing a system, they need to ask themselves this question: that system's going to gain us X amount of lap time, but it's going to weigh an extra 1.5 kilos. So is that game cancelled out by the extra weight? And they want the teams to think about this more consciously. Because what the FIA want are lighter cars, more nimble cars, and they want the weight to go down further. Because don't forget, it wasn't that long ago that these cars were 600 kilograms. And what they say is weight does contribute to the nimble car concept. We would love it to go down further in the future, and I'm confident we will go a lot further. It's been going up in the last 20 years or so, mainly because of a combination of factors. One is safety. The cars are a lot safer, of course. We don't want to compromise the safety, obviously, but many kilos of the car are safe. Then, of course, all the sustainable power units, batteries and turbos. These also contribute, and car dimensions contribute as well. So broadly, these are the three factors that make these cars so much heavier than they used to do. Drop tuned, make F1 cars thin again. Well, they've made them a little smaller for 26. They're trying to make them a little lighter. But when we used to have F1 cars that were like 600 kilos, I mean, Colin Chapman, when he was running Lotus, you know, it obviously make the cars lighter, make the cars quicker, right? The more efficient. But that's the goal. They're trying to go from being these thick cars to thin cars. It's what they're after. Make them smaller, make them more agile. And actually, they reduced the wheelbase for 26. They've gone narrower by 10 centimeters. The tires are narrower. The cars are going to get smaller. We're heading backwards. We're heading back to the go-kart scenario, the fastest go-karts in the world, which are, you know, F1 cars. But they don't want to compromise on safety. Obviously, those safety elements do weigh a bit. The batteries are heavy at the minute. They still got, but Ferrari said they've spent a lot of time on reducing the size and weight of their battery going into 26. But the battery tech's going to get better, isn't it? Now Formula One, a 50% electrification, they're going to do a lot of work. Battery tech is going to get smaller, better, lighter as we go on, cheaper. And I suppose having them in Formula One does help the rest of the car industry if we're going to have hybrid cars of the future and batteries are here to stay. Well, then you got to make the batteries have a longer life cycle. You got to make the batteries be more efficient. You got to make them safer. You got to make them smaller. You got to make them lighter, right? Formula One will drive that development. So, you know, it's true. So yeah, there's a campaign, you know, but you know, is it, you know, is it, should we, you know, I don't know. It's like, we should be encouraging thinner cars. But, you know, in other areas of the world, if you were saying that, you'd be in all sorts of trouble. Drop tune, make F1 cars thin again. Sam is laughing. Jermaine says, yeah, the problem is the hybrid systems and all the cooling needed. Yeah, that's some heavy shit, basically. Backrows. Turbos. I didn't realize how heavy turbos were. Servos and small transmissions, plus the safety lines for drivers. Look, I'll keep the safety, right? Make sure that, you know, like I still, every time I see Roman Grosjean's accident, the fireball through the barrier, the car broken off, and he walked away. Like, that just goes to show. I mean, that accident was crazy. And just to see how just the safety aspects of these cars now, they are so much better. Although if you've ever driven on F1 25 in the cockpit view, I realise now that freaking halo, it is annoying having the bar coming down in front of your vision. Like, it is annoying, but that's the design. But I tell you, when you're driving, I actually find that bar in the middle well annoying on the simulator. Tell me I'm wrong, right? Tell me driving in the cockpit when you're in the sim racing, that bar is annoying. Drop tuned, yes. We'll be talking about that later. Yeah, just a quick reminder if you're watching for the first time, F1 Grandstand's going racing. We're going sim racing, and you can be part of our little sim racing community. We might stream a bit of it. We might just do it for fun. But yes, get involved. I will put a post up. Drop Tune's going to help with this as well. But yeah, we're going sim racing, and everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome. All you need is a F1 25. a steering wheel, some pedals, and your chosen console or PC, and we can all race together. But yes, Drop Tuned, I will email you back tomorrow about it, and we'll talk about it. Smashing. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our first Sunday Night Live. I've enjoyed it. It's a more relaxed show. Oh, Crackite, you can't turn it off. When you're sim racing, I prefer the camera just above the cockpit, right? So you see the front wheels of the car, you're above the halo. That's my preferred view. But that's not the real view. Oh, so Kevin Toll says, change your view in the cockpit. You can make it seem like you have two eyes in visual effect. Ah, Kevin, I need to look at that. But I want it to be real. I wanted it to be the real simulation experience. And when I turned everything off, yeah, cause when I turned everything off, Kevin, I turned off everything. No traction control, obviously manual gears, racing line off. I tell you, it's freaking hard. It's freaking hard. I need some tips, and that's why we need to get on the game where we can all talk through the game. And I need some tips because I want to be good at this. I've watched Max Verstappen on his sim racing, and he tends to have the cockpit view just normal. The real view's VR, Crackite. Yeah, that'd be good. It's a change in settings, right, Kevin? I'm looking that up. I'm getting into that. But Kevin, welcome to our little F1 Grandstand Sim community. You got to get involved. Jump in. More the merrier. Right, guys, thank you so much. I've enjoyed. Sunday Night Live is going to become a thing. I like it. I like a relaxed Sunday. You got your weekend out of the way. You know, you finished watching the football or whatever you've been watching in the sport. This is cool. Old Guy Chat says, no matter what I have, a valid question. Does anyone miss Hockenheim? I tell you what I miss. I miss Hockenheim, but do you know what I really miss? I miss the Nürburgring. I'll always miss the Nürburgring. That's my favourite. But we'll never see it again. Yeah, I'll never see it again. Yeah, so I'll be back next Sunday. We'll do it again on Sunday. Watch out with VR if you get motion sickness. Yeah, I do for sure. Oh, brilliant. Listen, guys, thank you so much. Really enjoyed having you all with me. I'll be back tomorrow night. Usual stuff, 7:30. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for tuning in. Watch out for any breaking news stories. Smash a like on the video if you haven't already. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. I'll see you all tomorrow night. Ta-ta.